Hello, Buckeye fans. I'm Patrick Murphy here with Dave Biddle. We just finished up another Ohio State Tuesday press conference at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, as you can see. Also, Dave, I noticed both hoodies. It really feels like football weather.
It does. It's actually, it was in the 40s overnight, but it's now like creeped into the 50s. I'm loving this fall weather we're having overall.
Yeah.
In Columbus, it's been nice. We had the rained all day. Monday? No, Sunday. Sunday. Other than that, we've had like the nicest fall that I can ever remember.
Yeah, it's not too. We're almost mid-November, not too cold. Hasn't been crazy. Anyway, no one cares about the weather. I noticed we were both in hoodies today. We just got done, as I said, with Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Will Howard. Of the things, what stood out the most to you from those three press conferences?
Oh, that's interesting. There was a lot of talk about Will Howard's footwork.
Yep.
That's one thing that definitely stood out because Coach Day talked about that. Coach Kelly talked about that, and then Will talked about that because we asked him about it. They feel confident that Will can throw the deep ball well. He just has to make sure that, as he says, his feet don't go dead. Keep his feet moving. If the footwork, you hear this all the time. I mean, use a baseball pitcher, for example. You hear it all the time. You get your power from your legs. The same thing with the quarterback. You really get your arm strength from your legs. And if you're throwing off your back foot, or as Will said, if your feet are dead, you're probably not going to be very accurate. But if your footwork's on point, you're going to be a much more accurate quarterback. You're going to be able to throw the ball with more velocity. And overall, he's been very accurate. I mean, he's had 5 games now where he's over 80% completion percentage. So he's an accurate passer. Tony Gerdeman asked this question quite often today to different people. It's like, Will came here as a 59% career passer, 59% completion percentage. He's well over 70% this year at Ohio State. You think it helps playing in this offense with these receivers? Yes, but I think people saw Will Howard's stats at Kansas State and just assumed, oh, yeah, he's an inaccurate quarterback. He's actually a very accurate quarterback. He does need to get better throwing the deep ball. And it sounds like if his footwork is on point, he'll be able to do that, Patrick.
Yes. Tony's question stemmed from my pointing this out to him at basketball yesterday.
Okay.
Jerry Emig, the SID.
Stealing your stuff?
Yeah, Jerry Emig, the SID, was sitting next to us and said that, of the recent Ohio State quarterbacks, which have obviously been very good, none of them have had 5 80% completion games in a season. CJ didn't do it. Justin didn't
I would have thought CJ would have done it.
Right.
Or Dwayne.
Right.
Yeah.
None of those guys did. And then I pulled up Will Howard's numbers throughout his career and pointed out to Tony that he was whatever the number, 50, whatever percent.
No, Tony's in here. Good thing we're friends with Gerd because he's in here stealing your stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fine. I wasn't going to ask him about it, so I'm glad he did.
It's right there. You can go he's a big guy. Yeah, don't.
You can
Don't go tackle him.
After we're done, you can jump on their thing and call him out for stealing. Don't do that. In all seriousness, I do think the Will Howard conversation is interesting because he is completing such a high percentage of his passes, and he talked about Chip Kelly told him there are completions all over the field. Take what you can get. And he said, he missed a play this weekend, maybe down the field to Emeka Egbuka, but he checked it down to, I think he said Quinshon, got 6 yards. You're at 2nd and 4. That's a good spot to be in, is what he said. And I think that's a big part of why his completion percentage has gotten better, is because he's willing to just take the easy stuff. He's not forcing it. He's not throwing as many interceptions, though he has thrown some. I do think the deep ball is, we've talked about this a lot, something they can continue to work on, and they're going to need it at some point this season, be it against Indiana in 2 weeks, against Michigan in the Big Ten championship game if they get there, the college, whatever it is. I think he's going to have to hit a deep ball at some point in a crucial moment of the game. But he's shown he can do it. Is it perfect? No. But look around college football. How many quarterbacks are really good at deep balls? It's just, it's a continued skill that you develop, and I think some guys are really good at it. CJ was really good at it, but it's not something that I think every quarterback is just. Will's the outlier. I think Will is part of the improving group more than name a quarterback. Shador Sanders, he just lobs it up there a lot. He throws a lot of pitch.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have like this great deep ball that he throws. Yeah, there's not. I mean, Cam Ward, not really his strength.
Yeah, Carson Beck, I thought maybe he was a good deep ball thrower, but he's thrown a lot of bad throws this season.
Milrow. Yeah, no.
Right, yeah. So
this is why when you look at like these, like I posted a story today. Dane Brugler does a great job for the Athletic, and this wasn't a mock draft. He just ranked the top 50 players, just how he would, the best players was one. So we had Travis Hunter 1, for example. He ranked him to 50. He didn't have a quarterback until 16. That was Cam Ward. He had, I think, Milrow 21st, Shador Sanders 23rd, something like that, and maybe is it Gusmeyer? No, Nussmeier was 30th. And so he's like, this is a bad year for quarterbacks overall. But yeah, focus on Will Howard. I think he's exactly, again, is he perfect? No, but I think he can take Ohio State where they want to go, which has been the big question. Can they win a national championship with Will Howard? I absolutely believe they could. Is he going to be the reason that he's going to carry the team to a national championship? I don't think so, but I think with this coaching staff, with what they've designed, with the talent around him, and the way he plays, I think they can definitely achieve their goals with Will Howard. And there was a lot of talk today about Donovan Jackson, the left tackle. He's now played, he's had 2 starts there, really played 2.5 games there, and they feel pretty confident in Donovan Jackson. Does he have the prototypical height at 6'4" for a left tackle? No, but they say he's pretty long and pretty athletic. And Coach Day mentioned, I believe it was Coach Day that said this, not Coach Kelly. Yeah, it was Coach Day that said they want him to drop a little bit of weight because when you're playing guard, you can get away with being
a few pounds,
at least 320 pounds. He probably was a little heavier than that, but now that you got to be a little bit more athletic at left tackle. So they're hoping he can shed a few pounds. Imagine going into Thanksgiving season and they're telling you to lose weight. It's like, come on, man. No, it's a little different. These guys are, and I've heard people talk about, well, Donovan might not have wanted to move because it would hurt his draft stock. If anything, this is helping his draft stock. It's showing NFL teams he's more versatile, but they seem very confident that they have found the answer at left tackle with Donovan Jackson, left guard with Carson Hensley.
Yeah, and I thought again on Saturday, it was something we didn't really talk about. I don't know if you talked about it before. Steve and I jumped on what we learned live, but we didn't need to talk about it because it wasn't a problem, right? And that's the good thing is the left side of the offensive line is playing well. The offensive line in general is a Joe Moore semifinalist award, which I think coming into the season, I wouldn't have predicted that.
And certainly after Josh Simmons got hurt, I
Right.
wouldn't have predicted that. It's like, wait a minute, like even without him, it's like it just goes to show these guys, are they going to win the award? Are they the best offensive line in the country? No, they probably won't even be a finalist. But the fact that they're and Will Howard talked about this because it was right after he talked about how he doesn't care about individual awards for himself. And he's asked about the Joe Moore Award. Of course, he has to then say, "Oh, I care about that. Those are my guys."
Yeah.
So it is. It's a nice notch in their belt that they were at least being, recognized as one of the top. How many we think were nominated? 16, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
If you say the top Ohio State is a top 20 offensive line, I think any Buckeye fan would take that, considering what they have at other positions. And look at wide receiver, running back. Travion Henderson is coming off just an excellent game. And we'll see, man. And then Wrigley Field was another big topic of conversation. I led off the press conference talking about finally Jerry called on me first. No, he even joked about it. Usually he doesn't joke about it. Today he kind of joked about it. By the way, Ryan Day's starting to smile a little bit at press conferences, a little bit.
That'll stop next week, I imagine.
Yeah, going into Indiana, and definitely the following week that'll stop. A lot of talk about Wrigley Field. It's definitely cool they're going to play there. They're excited about it. It's also, I'm sure you guys have seen if you haven't actually seen a game on TV there or a game in person there, as far as a football game, I imagine you guys have seen at least the pictures, some of the videos. One of the end zones, the corner of the end zone is basically right up against the wall. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of cool. I'm a big baseball fan. Unfortunately, I'm a Reds fan, but I've watched Cardinals fan. I've watched a lot of games at Wrigley, both in person, not a ton in person, but certainly on TV. It's going to be really cool to see the Buckeyes play there. I just hope nobody runs into those brick walls, man.
Yeah, I think, and Ryan, they talked about the fact that they're going to go on Friday and walk around, something they don't always do for stadiums because, as you mentioned, the wall, where the sod is put over top of the infield. Obviously, it's not baseball season right now, and the Cubs weren't in the playoffs anyway. That was a nice shot right there. But the fact that you are putting grass over the top, sight lines, which I don't think a lot of people think about. Not that we are talking soccer here, but one of the MLS teams plays at Yankee Stadium, and that's something I've heard from players in the past. It's just like you get so used to, and this is the same in football. Like when you're looking at a field in a stadium, you see basically the same things. Maybe the play clock is moved somewhere else. Maybe the scoreboard is not exactly center, but you get used to kind of the general feel of what a football field is. It'll be different, and when you're trying to look at things quickly and corner your eye and stuff like that, I think it certainly could make an impact. Not something that I would be worried about hurting Ohio State, but something you just have to prepare for and kind of keep in the back of your mind.
And Northwestern has played there before, but not this year, not this iteration of Northwestern. So they have to deal with that same thing. They have pretty much a new quarterback in Jack Lausch. So he's never, at least maybe he played as a backup there. I don't know, but he certainly never started a game there. So what Patrick's saying is true. It is completely different. Like think about in basketball. Basketball players talk about it all the time. If you're playing like in a smaller gym, feel like it's a lot easier. Sometimes I'm playing in some huge like dome, where like the backdrop. All of a sudden you're playing in some huge football stadium, but you're playing basketball, and it can throw you off a little bit. So that is something to keep in mind. But it's the same for both teams.
Yeah, and I'll be excited. I have never been in Wrigley Field.
Oh, interesting.
I have had friends that lived right by it, so I've walked by it.
You're a big Cardinals fan. You've never seen a Cubs-Cardinals game there?
I have not. I went to, for a bachelor party, we did an event at one of the bars across the street where you're on the rooftop.
Cubby Bear? No, Cubby Bear doesn't have a rooftop, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Do a rooftop, and there's bleachers, so it kind of feels like you're in the stadium, and you can see most of...
Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool setup, but I have not been in the stadium, so I would be interested in just first experience.
And I've never done the rooftops. I got to do that sometime.
Yeah, it's at least the one we did was all inclusive, still cheaper than going to the game. At least if you want decent seats.
Yeah.
I won't be paying for this game.
That's true.
This will not be a ticket.
That's true.
Another thing that was a big topic today, it's been a big topic the last several days, really going back the last couple of years, these noon kickoffs.
Yeah.
Ohio State's going to end the season with 6 straight noon Eastern time kickoffs.
Yes. Sorry, guys.
Some of that makes sense. Obviously, we knew the Michigan game was going to be the Nebraska game, not a surprise. I think Ohio State fans were happy the Penn State game was.
Yeah.
But you know, this Indiana game is the one that's kind of sparked the controversy because obviously that'll be a big game. What you kind of intimated it there in terms of your reaction, but what do you make of this situation that the Big Ten and specifically Ohio State is in?
Yeah, I mean, it just boils down to money. We all know this. I'm not breaking news. Fox, we know this. The deal itself with Fox and CBS and NBC, Big Ten Network, everybody chipped in a lot of money. But who chipped in the most? Fox. Yeah. So Fox has, they get a lot of benefits that go along with that, rightfully so, right? So, and they have decided that they're going to make big noon kickoff. This isn't anything new. They've done this the last few years. That's going to be their primo game because they feel like the SEC owns prime time. Now, I feel like now with CBS, but Fox is not in the business of helping CBS out. I think it would have been nice, even though I prefer noon games, and I'll get to what Will Howard said in a moment. I think the players overall prefer noon games. But I think Indiana being at 3:30 would have been nice just to mix it up. And the good thing about November, it was never going to be a night game. But the good thing about November 3:30 games is the second half, it's a night game. I mean, with it getting dark at about 5 o'clock here in Columbus now. So that would have been nice if they mix it up a little bit, had Indiana at 3:30. As a journalist, I personally love noon games. I get that most of the fans don't, so I don't want to gloat about that. But if you're kind of on the fence, Will Howard was asked about it. He prefers noon games. Why? He says, waiting around for night games, and I just get antsy. I want to play. Noon games, you wake up, you eat breakfast, you go to the stadium, you play the game, and the players overall like it. They said, yeah, maybe once or twice a year it'd be nice to have a night game. And they did. They had a road night game, and they did have one home night game, right?
Michigan.
Western Michigan was the night game. So Will said he gets it to an extent wanting night games, but he personally prefers noon games. And a lot of the players, Patrick, have said the same thing over the last few years and this year.
Yes, and Ryan Day was asked about it and basically said, we're going to play when, where, whatever we're scheduled. I am interested, and I want to follow up on this with Ryan Day after the season, if he or if people at Ohio State, because basically what it's become, this has been posted on social media, I saw it on our message board, Joe Klatt had this big, long Twitter thread yesterday about why big noon kickoff is the way it is and Fox and the decisions. And the quick response from Ohio State fans was, it's not really big noon kickoff. You're putting Ohio State in any time slot. They're going to have viewers, right? And that's kind of what it's become. Even the last couple of years with Michigan, winning the Big Ten, still people are watching Ohio State, no matter what. And so Ohio State has kind of taken that window, and it's become their own. And I think the biggest downside, other than fans not having chances to tailgate, is the recruiting side of it. Because Ohio State, as I mentioned, Western Michigan, the only night game. That's not a game you're bringing a ton of big-time recruits to. So they've some of these games that they thought might have been night games. Bill's written about it. Bill Kurlick, guys haven't been able to come because if you're out of state, and Ryan Day did say that, if you're out of state, it's hard to get here when you have a Friday night football game, trying to fly to Columbus or drive to Columbus, whatever it may be. And so I do think that is something I want to ask Ryan Day about in the offseason is, do you, as Ohio State, go to them, whether it be the conference, the networks, whatever, and say, hey, we need to figure something out here. Can we cap it at 4 big noon games? Can we, get one of our guaranteed big games each year to be a night game early in the season, something along those lines, to ensure at nothing else you have that recruiting opportunity there, which I think they do miss out.
Yeah, and Coach Day, no matter what he feels about it, is not going to say anything. Maybe if we got him one-on-one, he would, even if he knows it's on the record. Maybe he would give his true feelings. This is something Ross Bjork's going to need to take care of if they feel it's a problem. Because, yes, you want to be a team player, but yes, Ohio State is the golden goose in this conference. They just are. They are. They get the best ratings. I don't know how they do these studies, but Ohio State has the largest fan base in the country. Okay, so Ohio State needs to throw its weight around. They've done it before in certain instances. They probably don't do it enough, in my opinion. If they have a problem with this, they need to throw their weight around going into next year, as Patrick said, whatever it might be. For example, we get that we're going to be on Noon. Can we cap it at a certain amount? So we don't have pretty much every Noon game where it feels like Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt are Ohio State's like every game announcers. Like that's Paul Keels and Jim Lachey.
And it sounds like they're getting bored based on the performance.
Gus was definitely getting bored. Yes, and there's a fumble and Jack Sawyer recovers it for an Ohio State touchdown.
Yeah, well, we know that Gus is a Michigan guy from Detroit.
That's why he overplays the world famous. So he goes a little overboard with it. Joel doesn't pretend he's an Ohio State fan at all because he's not.
What do you go, Colorado?
He went to Colorado. It seems like he's sometimes is anti-Ohio State, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, well, I think people liked Joe Klatt for a long time because Ohio State was the team, and then now he kind of shifted towards Michigan and was less than critical of the issues there.
That's the problem, I think. I don't think Ohio State fans mind that he was. He just needs to or just say nothing about it at all. Like I get that you want to toe the company line with Fox and everything. You don't want to blast Michigan, but
Michigan
don't defend them though, which is what he did. Say nothing. You can't defend what they did. Now he just says nothing about it, which is what he should do if he's not going to say anything that goes against what they did, because it's obvious. Just read what the Big Ten's report said, and then Joel's sitting there defending them, and that really rubbed Ohio State fans the wrong way.
Last thing, and this wasn't really part of the conversation today, but I'm curious to get your take on it. Indiana off this weekend, so they will have 2 weeks to prepare for Ohio State. We'll get into a lot more about Indiana obviously next week, but we don't have to focus solely on Northwestern. So how much of an advantage do you think that is for the Hoosiers going into what will be arguably the biggest game in their at least recent history, if not maybe the entire time this 100+ years they've had a football program?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think it helps them a little bit. I don't think it helps that much. Rourke has obviously been okay to play the last couple of weeks, but it gives him an extra week to heal that thumb. He did need surgery on it. I can't imagine it's 100%. His first game back, he was wearing a little wrap on it. Then he took that off this past week against Michigan. Played well in the first half, did not play well after that. So you got to think it's still bothering him. I mean, the kid, like I said, he had surgery on the thumb 3 weeks ago. There's no way it's 100%. So it gives them a chance. I don't know if they had anybody else get banged up. It gives them a chance to get a little healthier. Whereas Ohio State has to go play a football game against a team in Northwestern that's not really good, but they've always had a tough defense. Yeah. They're going to be a sure tackling team. David Braun's a defensive coach. He was brought there as defensive coordinator, then was made head coach because of the Pat Fitzgerald stuff. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a little because the teams I follow both here and in the NFL don't do well off bye weeks. So maybe I think maybe it'll hurt Indiana. No, I think if anything, it helps them a little bit, but not that much. Is my take.
Yeah, and instead of reviewing the tape as much as I usually do in the story I posted this morning, I looked ahead at Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan, and just kind of seeing what kind of challenges lie ahead for the Buckeyes. So if you want to read that, that's on Bucknuts already today. Anything else that we didn't get to from the press conference? I think we kind of hit on pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of anything else notable. If we missed anything, we'll have stories on Bucknuts.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back throughout the week, and then obviously after the game, what we learn live on Saturday afternoon from Wrigley Field.
That's right.
For some of us.
Yes.
He doesn't need to go. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.